outside the map? And what if we told you that the true soul of Germany isn't found in the crowds of Berlin, but whispering through medieval streets where time chose to take an eternal pause? Here we uncover the destinations that tourist algorithms prefer to keep hidden. Today, we'll take you through 9 German villages that challenge everything you thought you knew about this country. Places where houses look straight out of fairy tales and dunes rival the Sahara in beauty. We'll walk through a village where more than 1,000 medieval houses have survived 6 centuries intact. We'll discover the only place in Germany where the desert comes to life. We'll explore a castle that mirrors itself perfectly in the waters of the Moselle, and Bavarian villages where authenticity still remains untouched by tourist crowds. If you're looking for inspiration for your next adventure off the beaten path, subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss these secrets. Our first destination awaits in the Harz Mountains, where a medieval town jealously guards the secret of having completely stopped time. Quedlinburg, the medieval town frozen in time. Nestled in the Harz Mountains of Saxony-Anhalt, just 2 hours from Berlin and an hour and a half from Leipzig, Quedlinburg emerges as an architectural miracle that defies the laws of time. During World War II, while Europe was burning, this medieval town remained untouched by bombings. Its distance from strategic targets turned it into an involuntary refuge for history. Centuries of prosperous trade had filled its streets with architectural wealth, and paradoxically, the war preserved them for posterity. 1,300 half-timbered houses rise like living pages of 6 centuries of history. Each building tells a different era. Here, a 14th century house leans gracefully toward its Renaissance neighbor, while a Baroque construction watches from the corner. Its dark oak beams tracing geometric patterns across whitewashed walls. The buildings don't just lean under the weight of years. Their uneven stone foundations create an undulating urban landscape where no facade is identical to another. In 1994, UNESCO recognized this open-air museum as a World Heritage Site, describing it as an outstanding example of a medieval European town. Its historic center covers more than 80 hectares of pure authenticity. Walking through the market square feels like stepping back centuries. From St. Nicholas's Church, you gain a panoramic view that no postcard could capture. The winding cobbled streets reveal photographic corners at every turn, especially at dawn when the mist embraces the pastel-colored houses. Here, the impossible coexists. The oldest house dates back to 1310, while the most modern in the historic center was built in 1899. Nearly 600 years of architecture inhabiting the very same square. Freudenberg, the town of twin houses. In the heart of North Rhine-Westphalia, just an hour from Cologne and easily accessible from Germany's main highways, Freudenberg unfolds one of the most hypnotic visual spectacles in Europe. Imagine a giant canvas where someone decided to paint the same house hundreds of times, yet each repetition takes on a life of its own. White and black facades follow one another in an obsessive pattern that defies logic. Dark timber frames against whitewashed walls create an optical effect that is dizzying and fascinating at the same time. No 2 houses are identical in size, but all share the same aesthetic code, as if a perfectionist architect had conducted a visual symphony for centuries. This uniformity was born out of necessity, not whim. After devastating fires in the 17th and 18th centuries, local authorities imposed strict rebuilding regulations. Every house had to follow the same timber frame pattern to ensure structural stability and prevent future disasters. Tragedy became art. The most spectacular viewpoint lies on the hill opposite the historic town. From there, Freudenberg reveals itself as a three-dimensional puzzle where each house fits perfectly with its neighbors, creating visual waves flowing across the slope. Walking through its streets feels like stepping inside a kaleidoscope. Silence embraces every corner, broken only by the echo of your footsteps on centuries-old cobblestones. The tranquility is so dense that you can even hear the whisper of the wind weaving through the timber frames. Cochem, the castle above the Mosela River. In the Moselle Valley, in Rhineland-Palatinate, where the river's curves trace serpentine lines through terraced vineyards, Cochem unveils its magic like a living illustration. Reichsburg Castle rises atop a rocky promontory like a medieval guardian that never lowered its guard. Originally built in the year 1020, it was rebuilt in neo-Gothic style during the 19th century after being destroyed by French troops. Its pointed towers and pale stone walls seem to grow directly out of the rock itself. From its battlements, the Moselle Valley stretches out like a living map. Vineyards that shift colors with the seasons, the river winding like a silver ribbon, and tiny villages scattered in the distance like miniature models. Below, the wine town beats to the rhythm of centuries of tradition. Pastel-colored houses, pink, yellow, mint green, line up like candies against the sky. Here, every wine cellar tells the story of families who have cultivated the hillsides for generations. Local restaurants serve Riesling born just meters from your table, paired with specialties that taste of land and heritage. Sailing the Moselle on tourist boats reveals perspectives impossible to see from land. Cochem reflects perfectly on the calm waters, creating an inverted world where the castle seems to hang from the sky. The cobbled streets of the historic center hide tiny squares where centuries-old fountains whisper between timber-framed houses. Every corner is a perfect frame waiting to be discovered. Miltenberg, the mirror of the Main River. On the banks of the Main River in northern Bavaria, just an hour by train from Frankfurt, Miltenberg holds one of Germany's most captivating visual secrets, a town that lives in two dimensions simultaneously. Its half-timbered houses cascade down toward the river like the steps of a natural amphitheater. Each building represents a different era. Late Gothic from the 13th century coexists with Baroque from the 17th, while Renaissance structures intersperse, creating an architectural symphony. The colors form a watercolor palette: ochres, deep reds, creamy whites, and moss greens, all framed by oak beams that have withstood floods, wars, and the simple passage of time. But the true magic happens on the waters of the Main. On windless mornings, the river becomes a perfect mirror that doubles the town. The medieval houses are reflected with such clarity that it's impossible to tell where reality ends and its reflection begins. The best viewpoints are from the Old Bridge or the opposite bank, especially at sunrise. The market square is the town's beating heart. The Renaissance town hall presides with elegance, while the 16th century fountain marks the center of centuries of trade and social life. The riverside promenades invite slow contemplation. Terraces of local breweries open onto the water, where you can savor Bavarian specialties while watching herons fish in waters that were once a medieval commercial highway. The Main doesn't just reflect Miltenberg, it nourished it for centuries as a vital commercial artery. Treasures of the Bavarian Forest, a triple discovery. On the border with the Czech Republic, Where the Bavarian Forest spreads its densest green mantle, 3 villages guard the secrets of a Bavaria that mass tourism has yet to uncover. Separated by barely 20 kilometers, they form a triangle of authenticity in the heart of eastern Bavaria. Zwiesel emerges as the capital of German crystal, where the art of melting sand became a family tradition for more than 6 centuries. Its artisan workshops still produce pieces that rival the finest glassmakers in the world, while the sound of the furnaces blends with the whistle of the wind through centuries-old firs. The village breathes through nature. Hiking trails begin right from the main square and lead into forests, where the air feels as if filtered by the mountains themselves. In winter, cross-country ski trails weave between the trees like white ribbons over green velvet. Lam embraces the philosophy of controlled adventure. Here, outdoor sports are not a tourist show, but a way of life. Rock climbing, mountain biking, and wildlife observation are practiced with the wisdom of generations who know every trail, every animal refuge. Local breweries serve recipes passed down from father to son, accompanied by traditional music that never lost its spontaneity. Viechtach is the heart-pumping, authentic rural life. Family farms still operate as they did centuries ago, local markets sell products born just kilometers away, and Baroque churches safeguard stories that the elders still tell in dialects unknown to Google Translate. The connection with nature here is not a scheduled activity, but a natural breath. Ancient trails link the 3 villages, crossing forests where lynx, deer, and eagles coexist far from photographic lenses. This is unpretentious Bavaria, where traditions survive because no one ever thought of turning them into a tourist attraction. Freiburg and Breisgau, the jewel of the Black Forest. In Baden-Württemberg, where vineyards give way to the endless forests of the Black Forest, Freiburg im Breisgau serves as a magical gateway to one of Europe's most enchanting landscapes. Its old town is a medieval puzzle that defies all modern urban logic. Streets that seem to follow the whims of medieval goats branch into secret passages. Hidden squares appear where you least expect them, and alleys so narrow that 2 people can barely pass guard 8 centuries of history. The water channels, called Bächle, snake through the cobblestone streets, creating a constant soundtrack. The murmur of running water has accompanied generations of Freiburg conversations. Freiburg's Gothic cathedral rises like a hymn of stone to the sky. Its tower, considered one of the most beautiful in Christendom, pierces the clouds with its red sandstone spire that shifts color depending on the light of day. Inside, stained glass windows transform sunlight into sacred rainbows, while from its bell tower, the Black Forest stretches to the horizon like an endless green carpet. The university youth injects contemporary energy into the medieval structure. Cafe terraces spill across every square, creating open-air living rooms where students from around the world debate philosophy over craft beers. The contrast is perfect. Medieval wisdom safeguarding 21st century restlessness. The Black Forest begins literally at the city limits. Centuries-old trails start from the last houses and lead into forests where the tales of the Brothers Grimm still echo among the giant firs. Freiburg pulses with the unique energy of 30,000 students who have turned history into a living present. Kniepsand, Amrum, the secret dunes of the north. In the North Sea, where Schleswig-Holstein dissolves into scattered islands, the island of Amrum hides one of Germany's most surreal natural phenomena, a desert that defies everything you thought you knew about European geography. Kniepsand stretches like a golden hallucination, 10 square kilometers of sand dunes that constantly migrate, pushed by Atlantic winds. This gigantic beach was born from the millennia-long encounter between ocean currents and perpetual winds, depositing millions of grains of sand to form ephemeral mountains that change shape every season. The tallest dunes rise over 20 meters, creating a landscape that seems transplanted directly from the Sahara into the heart of northern Europe. Imagine walking on golden sand as the Atlantic wind whistles between dunes. But instead of African heat, the cool breeze of the North Sea brushes your face. This is Germany, but not the Germany of tourist brochures. Here, where you'd expect green meadows and fir forests, undulates a sea of sand that fades into the blue horizon of the ocean. Walking across Kniepsand is an experience of controlled disorientation. Your feet sink into fine sand. The silence is absolute except for the distant roar of the waves, and the feeling of being on another continent is inevitable. Footprints vanish with the next gust of wind, as if nature itself constantly erases the evidence of human presence. Hohenschwangau, the village behind the fairy tale. In the heart of Bavaria, just a few kilometers from Füssen and under the shadow of the imposing Neuschwanstein Castle, lies Hohenschwangau. Surrounded by mountains and crystal-clear lakes, this picturesque village offers one of the most idyllic views of the Bavarian Alps. Although most visitors arrive drawn by the castles, Hohenschwangau has a life of its own. Strolling through its streets reveals a charming destination in itself, where alpine tradition can be felt in every corner. Family-run taverns, artisan workshops, and the proximity of lakes, Alpsee and Schwansee, invite you to pause and enjoy at leisure, far from the crowds climbing toward the castle. The houses of Hohenschwangau look as if they stepped out of a Brothers Grimm tale. Carved wooden facades, flower-filled balconies, and steeply pitched roofs create the quintessential Bavarian architecture. Every detail reflects the Alpine cultural heritage and contributes to the magical atmosphere that once made this place a source of romantic inspiration. The natural surroundings are equally captivating. At the foot of the village lies the Alpsee, a green-hued lake ringed by forests, while snow-capped peaks cut into the horizon. Well-marked trails lead to viewpoints where castles, mountains, and valleys can be seen in a single glance. Despite being a very touristy spot, authentic corners can still be found. An early morning walk along the lake, a meal in a family inn, or a bike ride along the less traveled paths. Germany holds much more than vibrant cities and postcard-perfect castles. Here, history isn't preserved in glass cases, but in facades that have been breathing for centuries, in taverns where inherited recipes are still served, and in landscapes that seem to pause time itself. Every corner reminds us that the extraordinary hides in the unexpected. Traveling through these places means stepping into a different narrative, where authenticity still beats beneath every stone and every forest. If this journey sparks your curiosity, join us on our routes. We're still searching for those secrets that rarely appear in travel guides. Subscribe, turn on the bell, and get ready to discover a parallel map of Europe that very few dare to explore.